Hey guys, welcome back to the shop for another SNS, and this week we got some machine work to share with you. I've got a little production job that I did at work. I got a little video of that. I'm going to share that with you. I got a part that's set up over here in the Monarch that I started on this week, but unfortunately I haven't got it completed yet, but I did get some footage of setting up the taper attachment again and getting the part indicated, and hopefully next week we'll have the footage of doing the machine work on there where we got to bore it out. But I got plenty of footage there to share with you, and hopefully you'll enjoy that this week. I got a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about real quick before we get into that footage, and that is hopefully maybe by the end of next week we might start seeing a little bit of work being done on the shop here again. I had been in email. I touched base with the contractor through email today, and he was saying that it's looking like maybe the end of next week they can go ahead and get started, but again, there's no guarantees on that, but it's coming pretty soon, so maybe within a couple weeks we'll have some work. They're gonna have some work done, and I'm really excited about that. I'm excited and looking forward to getting some work done and getting some concrete poured out front too. It's just been as I said before, just a little frustrating, kind of, week after week goes by and nothing's done, and you're wanting some progress because it's holding up other things that I want to do around here as well. So I'm trying to be patient with it, and I know that it'll get done, and I appreciate all the support that I'm getting from all you guys out there on this project. So hopefully that's going to be coming up pretty soon. I've got some other things in the works that I wanted to discuss with you. So right over here, you guys have probably seen the Sheldon shaper. Well, I'm actually working out a deal right now for another shaper, and this is one that Keith Rucker led me to. It's one that it's a shaper that's at the place where he got his radial arm drill press here recently. It was sort of like one of the leftover machines that was spoken for, and they waited for the person that was supposed to be buying to come and get it, and they never showed up. So he had told me about it, and I've actually, one of the machines that I really wanted to acquire for the shop here in the future when I had a little bit more room was a larger shaper. And it's just something that I've wanted for a long time. It's not just a recent thing. I have been wanting a bigger shaper. I'd really love to have a 24 to 36 inch Cincinnati hydraulic, but there's some other good machines out there, and this particular shaper that Keith told me about is a 24 inch G&E, which is Gold and Ebert, I believe is how that's pronounced. And he says that it looks like it's in good shape, and it's for a very reasonable price. Really the asking price for this thing you can't argue with. It's like scrap value or less than scrap value. So I think it might be one worth trying to acquire and seeing if it's the machine for me. So right now I'm trying to work logistics on that, and one of the plans that I had was to sell the Sheldon so that I can make a little bit more room in here. And I've actually already got a buyer lined up for this. Andy, he told me a while back that he would be interested in this if I ever decided to get rid of it. So I contacted him, and he is interested in the Sheldon. So he was the first one to speak up about it. So I let him give first dibs on that there. So that's kind of some stuff going on right there, and I'll definitely let you know if I do make a deal on that shaper, and maybe share some pictures of it, and we'll see. So that's one thing that's going on there. One other thing that I wanted to mention, another plan that I had in the shop here is, okay, that's the blast cabinet over there in the back corner, and I've shown that being used in a few of my older videos, a couple years back, cleaning some parts. I've got some footage of that, but I want to sell the blast cabinet. So the reason I'm saying that is I'm giving my viewers an opportunity to contact me if they have any interest in that blast cabinet. I'll show you a picture of the tag for the front, and so you can see the model and the serial number. It is made by Trinco, and it's a 48 by 36 cabinet. It's got that cabinet over there. That is the the filter system and the vacuum system that recirculates the media in there. It is a very, very high quality unit. It's an industrial size unit. That's not something that's a cheap blast cabinet that you get at Harbor Freight. So I don't know what my asking price is going to be for that, but if anybody has any interest in that, contact me. I'll give you my email there, and you can get with me, and maybe we can work a deal on that. But I would like to get this blast cabinet. I'd like to sell it and get it out of the shop so that I have more room back here for the machines. I just decided to get rid of that because I don't really use it that much, and it's taking up a lot of room in this back corner. So that'll free up a little space here. But I can't move this out until I have things. I don't want to move it out until I have things ready to move out of the shop here. Once the other side is done, I want to get the welding table and the welding machines and move them over there. In order to get that blast cabinet out, I'm going to have to move the Kearney and Trekker back. I'm going to have to move this cabinet here. There's things that's got to be moved out of the way. So this is going to have to be planned out in advance to be able to get this out. Same thing with the shaper here. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of mention that. If anybody has interest in it, let me know, and we'll talk about that. Okay. After this episode, I should have a brand new, the start of a short series on machining a big gearbox shaft. So stay on the lookout for that. Check it out, and I hope you guys enjoy. I got a new tool in from Edge Technology, and I wanted to use that on that production job that we got some footage of there. So on your standard milling vices like this, is 6-inch vise. We all have these parallels that we use, and sometimes it's a little aggravating, a little tricky to keep the parallels up against the jaws like we want. Whenever you take a part out, they fall over, they get chips in there. And there's guys that use simple tricks such as a rubber band to hold them on there. You can put a spring in there. I've seen guys use zip ties in there. But Edge has these parallel separators. I've never had a tool like this before. I've seen them in catalogs, and they sent this to me to try it if I wanted. So I wanted to go ahead and give it a shot on this job. It seems like a nice tool to use. So let's check it out. All right, so it's a couple of aluminum tubes. They got the springs inside. We got some aluminum brackets there, and what you do is just collapse it, bring it together, and you stick it down in the bottom of your vise there and release it, and it puts a good amount of pressure on the parallels to keep them sucked up against the vise jaws there. So that's going to work pretty good. There's plenty of tension on there to keep them out, so you'll be able to, you're running a production job, you can loosen your vise, pull your part out, and you ain't got to worry about the parallels falling over. So I think that's going to work pretty good. So I'm going to use that on the new job, so let's go ahead and get to that. Real quick, I want to mention something about this. I show these tools on my channel here. We got stuff from Edge. I show stuff from Shar's tools. I show stuff from KBC tools. There's a few of the viewers out there that get really bent out of shape and don't like me doing this kind of stuff, but a lot of people think that this is I'm getting like royalties off the sales of this stuff that I show, and I'm here to tell you that I'm not. I'm showing these tools, man. I'm showing this stuff because I want to. I have absolutely no obligation from Edge Technology or anybody else to show this stuff to you. I do it because I want to. It's fun, and you as a viewer get to see this and make your own decision whether this is something that you like or not. But I don't make any profit off this stuff right here. I just do this because I want to. They send it to me. They say, hey, use it, enjoy it. If you want to share it on the channel, do so. So that's what I do. That's all it's about. So it helps me out by putting another tool in my hands to use around here, some stuff that I don't always acquire on my own. So that is a benefit on mine, as I get a tool to use. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, that I show this stuff on the channel because I enjoy it and I want to. All right. So here's the job that I'm working on. I've got 30 of these parts to make. You can see it with the tag on it. It's a steel plate that has a needle bearing pressed into the center of it. It also has 2 holes that are drilled and tapped. on a 3-inch center to center line. So what I'm showing here, and I apologize for the shaky video, I was milling the ends of them and then holding the camera with the other hand trying to get a shot there. But I'm milling them the size, and I've got the edge vice stop clamped to the top of the Kurt vise there. And after getting one side milled, do all of them on one side, and then go back in there, you know, and get offset it so that you mill it to exactly 4 inches. So that's what we were doing there, using a 3/8 diameter carbide end mill, running it kind of fast and feeding it just by hand 25-30 inches a minute. So here's where I started putting the parallel separators to use for this job, and I got to say, these things work great. They did an excellent job for me. I never had one problem with the parallels trying to move or getting chips caught behind them or anything like that. So they worked out pretty good. They put pressure on the parallel to keep them sucked up against the main vise jaw. So here I am tapping the holes. I've already drilled them. I didn't show that, but I would drill it, and then I'd flip it 180 and drill the other one. So doing the same thing with the tapping. And then here I'm putting a pilot hole in the center of the block in preparation for drilling and reaming for the needle bearing that's going to get pressed in there. So that's a 3/8 stubby link drill, 135 degree cut angle, split point tip. So I'm not using a center of any kind, just using that drill bit to put a pilot in there. And then we're going to go in there with what size did I use? 63/64 is going to be the finished drill size that I'm going to go with after I put the pilot. It's just so much easier to put a pilot hole in there and then go in there with the finished drill 63/64, so that in theory gives me approximately 15 thousandths to ream out of the hole. We're going to use a 1-inch reamer on that. So you can see me using the Noga Mini Cool, and that thing works excellent for all of this drilling and reaming. It serves 3 purposes there. It lubricates the cut, it keeps your tool and the part cool, and it blows the chips away. The previous segment there, it did a good job of showing that the chips that I was using from that 3/8 drill bit, it was just blowing them right away. So you don't have to grab the air hose and puff it with air to move all the chips out. It does it for you while it's cooling your part. So very nifty tool, very handy. I highly recommend have one of those. If you don't, it just works great. So making great use of all the edge tools there. You can see I'm using the Speedy, the vise handle to open and close the vise. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to do these parts like that in repetitious form. And here I'm using a chamfering tool, and I wanted to do the chamfers before I reamed so that it would help start the reamer in the center, and also it would be finished after the reaming, and I wouldn't worry about the chamfering tool rolling a sharp edge over inside of the bore after it's already finished. So I've got it set to a depth. I've got a clamp up on the quill so that I have a stop to pull the quill handle down to, and we're going to pan up here in just a second so you can see what I'm talking about. Got one of those little clip-on stops, and I use the knee to get it real close, and then I use the knee to kind of set the depth that I want for the cutter to stop at, and just run down until it stops there. And now we moved on to the 1-inch reamer. So that is a 1-inch chucking reamer, left-hand helix, the left-hand spiral, and there I am checking it with the calipers, and I did that about every 2 to 3 parts just to make sure that it was still cutting good. I did make a test piece and drilled and reamed it and mic'd it with a telescope gauge and a mic to make sure that it was where I wanted it, and it was finishing those holes at 1/1000th over 1 inch. The needle bearings, I mic'd those, and they were micing 2/1000ths to 12/10ths over 1 inch. So I had checked it with the calipers, the one that I had first measured, and the calipers were spot on. So I was checking them, and I was getting 1/1000th over with the caliper, so I knew that it was good. And I had every one turn out just like it was supposed to. So there's a stack of 30 completed. I've got a stack there on the left side. I made a 31 total. And I did that so that I would have an extra part. That's just showing the needle bearing that's got to get pressed in there. Koyo, it used to be Torrington, now it's Koyo brand. So we've got to get all those out of the box and press them in. But just showing you the stack here, so I've got an extra one, and I'll save that as a sample for myself and put it in the cabinet in case we get a repeat job. There's the one that I reamed as a test fit, and it worked out exactly what I wanted. And then a few more pieces underneath it that were just extras. Those ended up cutting a little too short, so I ended up not using those. They were just going to be used as test pieces if I need them. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to pressing the bearings in. So I decided to use the jet arbor press that we have at work to do this. There's not a lot of pressure to push those little needle bearings in at 1/1000th press, but it was just the right amount of fit that bearing needed. So I would start the bearing very lightly with a nylon tipped hammer, a soft blow, and get them all started in there. And then I went over there to the press and started getting them all pressed in there by hand. I had one of my coworkers help me with the footage there, so they did a pretty good job of showing what I was trying to do. I got one more clip of the pressing that we're going to go to, and it was the last like 8 or 10 plates, and I kind of had a rhythm going, so we took one more video showing me a little more quickly getting them all pressed in. So this was like the last little batch of bearings that I had to go in there. So I kind of blow through this one a little bit faster. I think we did it in, I don't know, I think it was like 40 seconds or so. And they all worked out great. And there we have it. There's all 30 of them completed. A little small production job for A-Bomb, and they all worked out great. I was very happy to announce that I did not have any mess ups. I was able to cut 30 and machine 30 and didn't have to redo any of them or make extras, except for that one there that was an extra. So that's just some cold roll flat bar. You can order that from McMaster Car or any of your steel suppliers. And I had to cut them a length and mill them and drill and tap them and drill and ream for the bearing. So there's the extra. I'll put it in the cabinet. So if we ever get a repeat order, I'll have a sample there that I made that I'll be able to look at and measure and go off of. You might recognize this. I previously showed making this part on SNS, doing the heavy turn-in, the radius, and the milling work there. So I brought this one home because this one requires a tapered bore to be machined through there, and what we've got is it's a 1.5 inch per foot. I'm sorry, I'm making sure that was right. 1.5 inches per foot is the taper on this, and the large diameter is going to be 4.5 or 4.5 inches. I was going to show you, this is a really handy book right here, this Engineer's Black Book. And on page 65 it's got useful tapers and angles and taper per foot. So you look right here, it says 1.5 inches, and taper per inch on diameter is going to be 1/8 or 0.125. So our offset, like I showed on the last taper video, we'll set up an indicator and we'll travel 1 inch. That we'll make the carriage move 1 inch, and we should set the taper attachment to where it moves 1/16 or 0.0625 to get our proper taper per foot. So I'm going to show that. We're going to go over there to the Monarch and get this thing set up and start getting bored out. I am a little bit worried about a boring bar that'll reach all the way through here, but I think I have one that'll just get the job done. So I hadn't even looked at them yet, but we'll check it out. I was going to point out too that this might look a little dull finish just because I sprayed rust inhibitor on this. We got 2 of them, and I kind of wiped it off, but that Bow Shield, T9 Bow Shield is what I use a lot of times. and you can kind of see, I mean, all you got to do is just take some solvent or any kind of cleaner and wipe it, and it'll bring it right back to that nice shiny luster. But that stuff does a good job on keeping things from flash rusting while it's sitting around the shop. So we're going to go ahead and get this taper attachment set up. We're going to have to move it the opposite direction of what it is because we're doing our bore. So I want to give you a rundown. I'm going to give you a closer shot of this magnifying glass right here with the other camera so you can see. But just to start off, what we're going to have to do is we got to loosen this one here. And what this does is this is a clamp that clamps down on this bar that holds this part of the cross slide steady when you're not using your taper attachment. We're going to loosen that. We got the one clamp down there we're going to loosen, and the one underneath here where your rack is. Alright, so there's our movement. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to bring this off out of the way and give it a little wipe down, and I'll bring you in for a tighter shot. Alright, so there's looking down at the magnifying glass, and we're also going to, let me move over here a little bit. And right here is where it says taper in inches per foot. And I want it on 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this green Sharpie just to give us a point of reference under the glass there. And let me I'm trying to find it back here. Let's see, I believe it's right there. Let's come right here so I can see it. Yeah, okay, 1.5 inches. Alright, so there's where we want it on the magnifying glass. Let's see if we can get this thing over here. I'm looking down. You guys are at a bit of an angle, so it might look a little off, but I'm just trying to get, you get the idea. I'm trying to show you what how Monarch, set up to use their taper attachment. All right, so it seems like I'm splitting the line right there. I'm going to go ahead and snug the clamps just a little bit, just like so. And now I need to go ahead and set the indicators up on the lathe and run our taper attachment to make sure that we're there, and then we'll have to tweak it, maybe put an indicator over here. And while we're here, I'll go ahead and show you that with the Sony, since we got it on. Tighten those two up there and then loosen this one. Okay. I got this indicator set at 0, and we got this one set at 0, and I've got it as square as I can eyeball it in line with the cross slide there. So I want to move it down 1 inch, and we want 62.5 thou on this dial right here. Alright, we got 63, 50, 60, 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's a few tenths over 63 thousandths. So let me do a slight tweak on that. I'll show you again. We'll use an indicator to move our very, very light movements over there on the taper attachment. So we need to move the taper back just slightly this way. So I'm going to run this indicator in. and I'm just trying to eyeball the proper alignment with the pivot of the taper attachment bar right here. We're talking some very minute movements. I just can't seem to talk sometimes. All right, we're going to loosen up the clamp on both ends here. You can see that it just moved. I wanted it to come back my direction, so that's why I set the indicator to 0 first, because it usually moves once you loosen the clamp. I'm just going to go 1/1000ths on that dial. All right, we're going to try that. I tweaked it a couple more times. I think I got it where I want it now. All right, yeah, 62.5 right there. That was 1 inch travel. So we're right at 62.5 on your cross travel there. So taper attachment should be set. I'll make sure that it's good and locked down and it's ready to go. All right, I got this chuck set for that flange, which is 11 inches. All right. Now let's get her indicated in. There you can see it's running out. About 1/8 of an inch or so. Now let's do some indicating. Now, like before, I've explained you got to make sure that it's running concentric, so not just in one spot. This is a fully machined part. I want to make sure that this face is running true. Now we can't get in there and indicate that, but I machined all this true with that face right there. So what we'll do, you can indicate it here and on the face, or you can indicate it here and here on the face. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as all that's running true with one another. So we got quite a bit of run out right there. Now I want to make sure I don't drop it. Now, one way you can do that, you can put you a block of wood or any kind of soft material right there with the center against it, and that'll keep it from falling out. Let's try to indicate it without having to do all that. This is why, you know, my style is just a little at a time on something like this. All right, and what I do is in between, now it's done moved 180, so we'll go ahead and see that one's gotten loose, so we'll go ahead and tighten that one. Now we'll work these two right here. Now we're within about 1/8 of an inch. That was out quite a bit on the jaws there. I just used my tape measure to set that. I didn't use a scale. Alright, now we're going to move to that jaw and this jaw here. Okay, about 1.5 to 2. Alright, I want to go ahead and we're going to move the indicator. I'm just going to move it out here. Okay, alright, so I need to get a soft blow. I think what we'll do this time is use my trusty old lead knocker. I've had some guys asking about that. Got the old lead knocker. Making sure there's no chips in it. All right, we got her within a thousandths right there. Let's go back. Let's go back down to this side. All right, so we're out 2 thousandths there. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the highs. All right, and then we'll move back to this end here, and that's just the junk on the end of the lead down there. That'll wipe off. Just bumping the highs. There we go, there's a half dowel right there. This is actually one of the best tools to indicate a part like this in. It's so dense and soft whenever you hit it. There's a lot of weight to that. All right, so next up we need to find us a tool. We need to find us a boring bar that'll go all the way through there and bore that out, and we'll get it bored. This is Alex's current project, a Valiant. Is this a 68 or 69?
69.
So it's a 69 two-door Valiant, and this could be seen on his channel called The Gas Tap with Alex. Be sure to check it out. He just picked them up some new skates for the car today from Horrible Freight. But
yeah, they came unassembled, so you just got to put the casters on. I got a set of 4, well, 2 sets of 2. They only come in sets of 2.
Yeah.
And that way the car can be moved around a lot easier in here.
Yep.
Until we get everything going.
That's probably one of the nice little hidden gems at Harbor Freight, I would imagine. You know, they got a few things that make our life easy that doesn't cost a whole lot of money.
Yeah,
and you use the coupon.
Yeah, with the coupon, these were $44.95 for 2 of them.
Yeah, that ain't bad at all.
So it came out to $92, $3.
I picked up this green cart just to leave here because I'm going to be coming back in November so we can go back to the Moultrie swap meet up in Moultrie, Georgia. I wanted to have a nice cart this time with pneumatic tires, so I picked that up. I forgot, yeah, you got the new floor pans in there.
Yeah, just got that project done.
Yeah, he's got that on his channel, and he's getting ready to drop a motor in here.
Transmission's at the shop already.
All right. He's got one of his, he's got a 360 over there that he's going to be putting in. He's got his roadkill style list of needs to get done, to-do list on the car. This Saturday night, we're just hanging out. We just got back from dinner. We had some wings and just having a beer now.
Yeah, check out these are just the Harbor Freight ones, but they have a lift handle, and also the casters have a lock on them. So I borrowed a set the other day from a friend, and they were higher, you know, better name brand, but they didn't have those options on them, so that's pretty cool.
Very nice, man. Gonna get the job done. Be sure to check him out on YouTube, The Gas Tap. He puts out some videos, car-related videos, and he's going to be having several more as he progresses to get the work done on the Valiant here. I know that he wants to get the 360 in it and, you know, finish it out and get it a good running, reliable car. And his ultimate goal is to take a nice long road trip and just see where the road takes him. Maybe take a month or 2 off work, throw a tent in the trunk, and go cruising.
That'd be the dream.
Hopefully you'll get there, man. I look forward to it.